So listen up, guys. Today I'm going to give you some very unconventional advice, something that you're not going to hear from a lot of other people, because in all honesty, it might make you sound like a bad person. I might sound like a bad person for telling you this. I'm risking that because I believe this is important. I need to get this out there. But if you follow what I'm about to say, it may just save your life one day, just in the same way that it saved mine. So before I explain this, I am going to have to give some level of context. In not my last video, but 2 videos ago, I talked about the idea that we all have masculine and feminine traits within us. It's not always like an even amount of masculine and feminine traits, but we all have some of each. I said that one of my proud feminine traits is that I'm a very empathetic person. I'm a good listener, and I genuinely enjoy helping people. Obviously that's part of the reason why I started this YouTube channel, as corny as it sounds. Like, obviously that's not the only motivator for me. I'm trying to turn this into a business as well. But I do genuinely like helping people. And this trait didn't start with my YouTube journey. I think for a long time I've been someone who people have felt they can confide in. Like, obviously I'm known as a good listener, but people have described me as having this kind of quite relaxed, chill energy. People just naturally start to open up without me having to even prompt them to do so. And that's, for a long time I was totally fine with that. Why wouldn't I want someone to start opening up about their problems to me? Surely that's a good thing. Like in the age of like the mental health crisis and everything, surely people do need to open up more, and that requires people to listen. So I never really had a problem with that. But the advice that I'm about to share with you might not make any sense in relation to what I just told you about myself. It might completely contradict that description that I just gave of myself. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to be more selfish. More selfish? What the fuck do you mean? Who wants to be more selfish? Surely that's not something I should be encouraging, because we have this association with selfish people as kind of greedy, willing to fuck other people over. Just kind of evil, really. But that's not really the type of selfish person I'm describing. I'm not describing someone who would steal money or actively fuck someone over for their own gain. I'm talking about the person who is selfish with his own energy. If you're like me and you're empathetic and you have this genuine desire, it's an authentic desire to help other people. And when you start hearing like a sad story, it kind of weighs on your mind like it doesn't with other people. It actually affects you. You start thinking about how you can actually kind of resolve this problem for that person. It's very easy in that position to develop a savior complex, where you feel the need to kind of save others or fix someone else's problem, often at the extent of your own emotional well-being. And again, I'll say, I'm not trying to discourage people from opening up about their problems or confiding in friends, because we do need more of that in a sense. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm never going to try and stop someone from opening up about their kind of mental health problems. But this message is specifically for those people who know that they're prone to kind of taking on others' emotional burdens, to feeling like they are entirely responsible for another person's well-being. There's a paradox that I've noticed that I'm going to tell you, and you've probably noticed this as well. The people who go about their day trying to make other people happy, the people who are devoting themselves to just kind of trying to cheer other people up, trying to make them happy. Those people, in a weird way, are usually the unhappiest with themselves. And I guess kind of like a real world example of this is therapy and counselling. Surely like we kind of see therapists as these people who are kind of like, they're emotional sponges. It's like in like a regular conversation, it's never going to be one way. It's a conversation between 2 people, but a therapist is someone we can just kind of unload all of our kind of emotional burdens onto them. And we kind of don't think about the effect that that's having on them because they're paid to do it. That's their professional job. But therapists, and this is a well-documented thing, they can actually develop this thing called, I might be saying this wrong, called vicarious trauma, which is essentially where, after hearing about the problems, the traumas and negative experiences of others for such a long time, you start to develop your kind of own trauma. It's like a secondary trauma where, because you have such a high level of empathy and you're devoting so much brain power to thinking about how you can possibly resolve the problems of this other person, it's almost like you're putting yourself in their shoes. You're accepting all the responsibility and emotional burdens for their troubles, that it ends up negatively affecting your own mental health. You start to develop some serious mental health problems. And as I said, at least when you're a therapist, you're getting paid to do that. Like, that's your own decision to do so. And as bad as it is, at least you're kind of getting something from that. You're making money. But I'm not a therapist, and yet I've experienced this vicarious trauma. And that's because for so long, I identified as this self-sacrificing person who every person could just confide in. I was the person who was taking it upon themselves to be the saviour, to fix other people's problems. And at one point in my life, I was surrounded by so many people who were dealing with some really fucked up stuff, who had some serious mental health problems and trauma going on. And I genuinely tried to help them, to fix them in the best way I could, if fixing is even possible. But I was there, I tried to help, but I was out of my depth. And this is kind of difficult for me to talk about. I literally never talked about this to anyone. But trying to help other people through their own kind of traumas and negative experiences, it took a serious toll on me. And I developed this kind of vicarious trauma where it felt like their trauma was my own. And it seriously fucked me up in the head. Like, I started developing all these like really bad mental health problems. It was like I was losing my grip on reality. I was disassociating from reality. And again, it's hard to kind of explain what I mean to someone who hasn't kind of experienced with it. Basically, it's like a serious symptom of depression where you kind of, it's almost like you're viewing your life from like an outside perspective. It's like you kind of, all the days are kind of blending into one. It's something seriously fucked up. And that's what I experienced as a result of trying to be that self-sacrificing individual who could help everyone. I think people on self-improvement can understand this message quite well, because all these YouTubers are telling us to be protective of our time, to be productive, to not waste your time on bullshit, alcohol, drugs, to put your time and energy in towards getting some serious work done, towards becoming a better man. But no one really tells you to be protective of your emotional energy, your emotional well-being. Being protective of your peace of mind, not putting yourself through, frankly, unnecessary, as brutal as it sounds, unnecessary emotional trauma. When really that's the key to everything. A healthy mind is a healthy body. It's the core of everything we do. If we have serious mental health problems, then we're not going to get anything done. We're not going to be able to protect our time or be productive. During that time when I was really, really struggling with that vicarious trauma, when my grip on reality was kind of slipping away from me, I heard some really, really dark things from other people. Some seriously kind of, I'm not gonna describe them to you because they're deeply personal. They're things I'm not gonna tell anyone because they were told to me in confidence. But I heard some seriously dark things that like really took an emotional toll on me. And I don't want to make myself sound like the victim, because honestly, they were friends. Like, I'm so sorry that those things happened to them. And I'm not trying to make myself out to be the victim here, but at the end of the day, I chose to let some of those friendships go because of this reason. I chose to kind of take control of my own mental health again. I chose to kind of not be that emotional sponge for everyone. I recognized that some of those problems were ultimately totally out of my control. I couldn't fix them. So I chose not to let them destroy my mental well-being. And again, no one will tell you this because, quite frankly, I sound like an absolute cunt saying this. I sound like an absolute cunt. But I promise I'm looking out for you here. And the guys who have kind of been in this position, who feel like they need to be the person that everyone confides in, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You'll be able to relate to this experience. But at the end of the day, some people are so far deep in their kind of traumas and their mental health issues. And you can help them all they want. You can help them all you want, but you're not going to be able to pull them out of that dark place. That's something that they need to do. And by risking your own emotional well-being for someone else to try and help them out of it, you're just going to get dragged down to those same depths. And again, I'm not blaming them for the horrible things that have happened in their life. Like, I have genuine empathy for them. But nowadays, I wouldn't go out of my way to be friends with someone who's gone through stuff like that. I know it sounds so brutal, it sounds so horrible, and I am genuinely sorry. But you get to be selective with the people you hang around with. I already have so few people in my circle for various reasons, like they're just fucking degenerates. They don't care about anything, they don't have any purpose. But honestly, people in this category kind of fall into that as well. If you're not adding to the positive energy in my life, then I'm afraid there's no place for you. And of course, I don't have this attitude to my very close friends and family. The people who I have immense loyalty towards, who I would lay down my life for because I know they do the same thing for me. If they were going through their battles, of course I'd be there. Of course I'd be trying to help them in every single way I can. But I didn't know back then what I know now, which is that you can't do everything for someone else. If someone is seriously messed up in their head, the only person who can pull themselves out of it is them. I know this because I was in that position. I had so many mental health problems, and of course I opened up to my friends and family, and they were able to make things a lot easier. They were able to help me deal with these things, but ultimately it was me. It was me having my own accountability. It was me understanding that no one else was going to come and save me and not expecting anyone else to. That was what pulled me out of those depths. You have to know where your responsibilities lie when it comes to other people in this position. You can help them, but you can't do everything for them. Honestly, I think this is one of the most important things I've talked about on this channel. I know it's a relatively niche thing. Maybe not many people will watch it. I hope they do, because I want to get this message out of there. But honestly, just talking about it, it feels like it's something I needed to get off my chest. It feels like I haven't necessarily let go. Like, I still hold on to a certain amount of guilt for having kind of, I'm reluctant to use the word abandoned, but it kind of feels like I abandoned certain relationships, like people who needed me. But I had to do it because I was literally going insane. I might not even be around if I had to keep kind of taking on that emotional burden. So that's all I've got to say. If you're going through something similar, hopefully this is the wake-up call you needed to hear, because you have to protect your own energy. That's the most important thing. But that's all from me today. Take care, bro.